love and longing. "You'll be back. We'll keep the cell warm," the guardswoman states as Jate Barlis swallows back a sneer. "Come on, you're the last one out and they're waiting," her lawyer says, holding up a data slate. She approves of the funds for his services. He was one of the cheapest local lawyers and was apparently looking to fill up his history with as many cases as possible to both get the experience and build a reputation. "Thank you, ma'am. Do remember that the Darklings are always available to speak." Then the little metak in a suit rushes ahead and then unfolds their blazer jacket into a pair of wings and launches into the sky. She watches him go and frowns to herself. The Darklings were a new group of lawyers on the market, and they promised complete anonymity with clients and professionalism at a discount. It let them elbow their way into the local market of legal services. Jate Barlis made a point of ensuring that the rest of her family was out and clear before she was released herself. There was a place that was still theirs, a piece of land they hadn't sold. It was too obvious a location to be protection from the Harkul, but it was still theirs. She approaches the jump pad and gathers the axiom around her, through her whole body, then through the reinforced pad itself. A bit of familiar calculation later, and she jumps hard. The cracking sound echoing around her, a result of her long hair and clothing snapping in the wind. The long cresting leap leads to another jump pad on which she lands with ease. Another two bring the old holding into view. There is no final firm landing point in the holding, a defensive measure. The soft ground ensures that anyone stupid enough to launch themselves there will bury themselves in the soft earth. There were numerous Harkul who had found their end in that very way, either held still long enough for a noble Barlis to execute them, or sunk so deep they suffocated in the cold earth. The old home is a bustle of activity. They have a few hours to dismantle the traps and unveil the caches hidden behind them. After this, they begin searching. Some bitch thinks she can play with them, thinks they can fool with the Barlis, likely some Harkul patsy. They will learn good and soon that they are on the wrong side of this, that the Harkul traders never pay a debt owed beyond their sheer lust of blood. The half-wild gardens here may be well-watered and strong, but it could always use more fertilizer. "Mother, what are we going to do? My little sister, my son." Her daughter Yura Barlis says, and Jate puts a hand on her shoulder. "We'll find them. The Harkul may be monster enough to harm a child, but few others are. They have to get the children away from whatever patsy they've brought in before they do anything. But what if they just kill the patsy? Then we'll have some time and an alert on the police lines. Those monsters are too sadistic to do things quickly. We'll get them, and before those sickos pull out the knives." "Right. Sign here and here," her lawyer states, indicating the familiar place on the document. Lala Harkul signs things after a quick scan, and then after the document is evaluated, the sound of mechanical parts in motion tells her that the room has locked the way to the prison, but the way out is unlocked now. The large double door starts to slowly open, and the light of freedom from this farce is unveiled. "Is there anything else?" Lala Harkul asks both the officer nearby and her lawyer. "Your friends, the Barlis, are already walking free. Their new lawyer is a spitfire that has taken advantage of his stature and gender to speed things along." Haile Naam states, and Lala's blood goes cold. "You heard the lady. We don't have much time before those psychopaths try something. Every minute wasted is, at least plan your next crime while outside the prison." The guard hollers at them in a fury, and the Harkul clan begins to move. They have no time to waste. They need to recover their trapped caches from within the old estate and try and find the children before the Barlis can do anything to them. After that insanity in the documentation, it was clear that it was some kind of Barlis plot. They would not be getting away with this. And if a single one of their daughters or sons were found with so much as a bruise, then there would be rivers of blood for the crime. She personally disarms a brutal tripwire trap that is a bluff. It requires some unwinding of a particularly healthy and strong vine, but it's not anchored in and doesn't need to be cut. The wire leads to a shrapnel bomb, but the floorboards just beyond it, where someone avoiding the trap would step, are weak and directly above a sintered tri-type blade, sharp enough to cut a woman in half. She recovers the directional bomb and unlatches the immensely sharp sword that is immune to axiom from its moorings. She then recovers the sheath of the weapon and buckles it to her side. Then, with the sword out of the way, is the path to the cache clear. Good. Time to shift this to another hiding place, then to war. We made it clear the last time what would happen if our children were messed with. There will be blood. Lala Harcool swears to herself as she begins to walk through the ancient halls. Arm up, my sisters and daughters in blood. The Barleys have struck at us through their puppets. We will cut the strings of the puppets and the hands of the masters. Our children have been targeted. Our beloved daughters and precious sons. There can only be retribution. They're idiots. These children will be orphans if we don't interfere. The soldier who had been spying on both manor states and people consider. Would that really be so bad? Brinchar asks. Sure, there is love in these families, but love alone is not enough. You need to be willing to sacrifice of yourself for your children, truly sacrifice of yourself for your children to be a good parent. If you just want something to love, get a stuffed toy or a pet. A child needs the obligations of a parent as well. These children may very well be better served as orphans. As fascinating as that look into your mind is, Vernon begins, we're trying to disarm these sides and end the pointless chaos. If they have hidey holes full of supplies and weapons, then just taking the resources away won't help much. Death is a very definite answer to this issue, Brinchar notes. It's also a final one. Let's start with answers we can take back if they're not enough. If they don't work, we may have to cull. If they don't cull themselves, from what we observe from both old manors, they have very good weapons and are gearing up for outright war. We don't have to cull them, we have to simply step back and watch as stupid people remove themselves from Serbo. Galith Uwan. The Bloodbark states, stepping back or stepping in, either way someone's going to be miserable. The children for the first, the families for the second. Do remember that we have 3 young brothers from each family. Oryx Youth. The burnstone adds his breath full of green sparks with 1 or 2 white ones among the flurry of power. Fair enough, Brinchar concedes. We don't have much of a choice then. We're sorcerers, we're of the woods, and so are those boys. Putting aside the woods, deciding to interfere directly in the girls. The spilling of their family's blood will only wound us all through the boys, and I'm in no mood to be wounded. So how do we stop it without slaughter? Well, for starters, don't squeeze too hard, Bone Chewer. Galith Uwan teases. Or toss them so harshly, Bloodbark. Eric's Youth answers back swiftly. You have no room to stand, Burnstone. Brinchar says with a smile, and a tongue that's also a tongue of fire is stuck out at him. Very mature. Gentlemen, you're all nice and scary. So how about we discuss how to use that? Vernon asks. And there are smiles. Well, first we need to agree how we're handling this. Do we injure them? Mislead them? Intimidate them? Coerce? Baroness the Dreadmoss asks. And there's some consideration. I can get a very nice carpet surrounding them all that can stop them from leaving an area on foot. But it will be only a matter of time until they catch wise and throw someone over the barrier or find or make a platform steady enough for them to jump from. Or figure out the trick to doing it without one, Vernon offers. Let's not put too much stock into the mental processes of people absorbed into a generational feud. Baroness remarks, I've seen this situation before. Something similar is, well, let's just say I have memories of it. May I request details? Vernon asks politely. Feuds like this can involve armies if the families are powerful enough. They can get indiscriminate and roll over a farm that happens to be near the war zone. However, the families are gone now. Funny thing happened. A big blanket of moss covered all their holdings and suddenly weighed so much that it was all crushed flat. Bizarre, Vernon notes dryly. Strangest thing, the survivors of that incident took on new names and nothing bad has ever happened since. The moss-covered areas have even been remade into popular vineyards. I've drunk what you people consider wine. My adorable little girls could drink it all day without issue. Vernon remarks. He's not even lying. He's had harder grape juice. Have you? Baronis asks excitedly as the mental image puts a huge smile on his face. No, they can take it, but holy crap, can you imagine the backlash? Sorcerer and soldier or not, if I put a teat on a bottle of booze and feed it to one of my girls, I'll get strung up. But they can take it, Baronis says with a chuckle. Just because you can take something doesn't mean you should. Vernon replies. True enough. Anyways, shall we get to planning? How about we get a good idea at what kind of weapons we're dealing with? I saw a shrapnel bomb and sintered sword. Those are no fun to deal with, Baronis states. You're the soldier, which means you know what to do when such things start, right? Yes, which means the first real question is the timetable and the location. We just need those and we can control a fight completely, Vernon says. Easily enough. Why don't you step back, Junior? Let's show you how more experienced sorcerers handle this, Galathuan offers. No? How about not? You think you can handle this? This battle will be born of a feud older than anything you've met. It's old, it's strong, it's static and stable. It's fossilized. You need special training to handle bones that old due to how easily they break. Vernon remarks, whether you like it or not, I at the very least am going to be joining you gents to keep the casualties down. Scare them off, hold them off each other, disarm them or wound them. But do not kill. There has never been a war between sorcerers, so don't try starting one. And you're going to enforce that? Eric's youth asks, walking right up to Vernon's face to allow his brutally hot breath to wash over the man. Vernon pulls out something and pops it in his mouth. After a moment, he breathes out a puff of air, and Eric's youth staggers back, clutching his nose as the rest laugh. What? You bring the heat and can't take some minty freshness? For shame, Vernon teases. All right, fine. You're brave, but seriously human, you're not very scary. You walked out of a tournament because people insulted your wife. We're in the background of one of Bryn Char's house-cleaning campaigns, and the information about what happened on Lilb Tulelb is being repressed. You've been coasting on being a sorcerer, not the anything. Little Kalstarn has a reputation. You? You're a romantic, not scary. I don't care if they find me scary or not. They're going to listen when I speak, whether they like it or not. A commendably apuk attitude, but reputations are useful, Oryx Youth says, and Vernon raises an eyebrow and gives him a look. Then he snorts in amusement. Fine. You want a reputation? I'll go right back to what I first planned, take pages out of the first book that inspired me for axiom use. And that would be? The Bible, Vernon answers, and there's a pause. Isn't that a holy book? Yes. So you're going to bring down the wrath of a god? Yes. I have to see this, Bryn Char notes. That's just the problem. You won't. I'm starting with the 9th plague, then work my way to the 1st. See how they like that. What's the 9th plague? You'll see.